Nobody cares about Ronda Rousey.
Guys, I came across this clip of Booker T unleashing on Ronda Rousey.
Ronda was walking across to the terminal, and I said, as she walks out of our lives forever. Everybody cracked up, needless to say, she's back. Ronda Rousey's another one, man. I think the wrestling world opened the doors to her, and she just spit in the face of professional wrestling.
Feels like it a little bit.
That's what she's done. It's a reason why people don't like you. You know what I mean? I don't hear any of her old comrades in the UFC saying anything good about Ronda Rousey. Man, it would be great to have Ronda Rousey back for a reunion. Oh, it would be great to have Ronda here as an ambassador. Oh, it would be great to hear Ronda do some Nobody cares about Ronda Rousey but herself. She's got a very, very high, self-esteem, as far as, looking at herself a certain way. But I don't think anybody else, looks at Ronda that way, just because there again, I don't know why she have so much hate and vitriol for the wrestling business, a business that let her in to go out there and have moments like at WrestleMania, giving her the rowdy Ronda Rousey gimmick, right off the bat, making her, something when so many other people wish they had, a spotlight like that. I don't get it, me, myself. I don't know. Maybe it's a star thing. Maybe it's one of those things to where you feel like, you're better than, I don't know. I really don't know, but I really feel like Ronda Rousey was given everything in this business. I really feel like this business opened the door for Ronda Rousey to come in and have a great time and do her thing and make a lot of money. And I can almost guarantee you this. Ronda probably made more money with the WWE than she made in UFC. I can almost guarantee you that.
One of the tweets that Ronda, or one of the quotes from an interview that she did, I'm trying to remember, the Lapsed Fan podcast. One of the things she said was this: the fact they had me fighting Alexa Bliss at all was effing ridiculous. And you want to know why they had me fighting Alexa Bliss? Because she had the most merch sales at the time. Like, WTF, that's your decision-making process?
Yes, it is.
Let me say one thing. There was a show called Mad Men back in the day, John Hamm, right? And his secretary, says, sometimes I wish, you could just tell me that I did a good job and you would appreciate me. And he looked at her and he said, that's what the money's for, right? and to me, when I read this comment from Ronda, they put me against her because she was selling the most merch. It's called a business. We want to make money.
These guys are delusional when I hear them talk like it's like somebody want to fight you these days. Run up on somebody trying to fight them and see what happened to you.
And Alexa Bliss is a great worker. She's super over. That's the kind of person you want to wrestle. And she's smaller than you. You can have a great... Come on, Ronda.
Well, that's somebody that don't understand the wrestling business. I mean, she understands the fight business.
Right,
and
very well.
There again, if Ronda Rousey wanted to fight, Amanda Nunes is about to make a comeback. I mean, she could easily go back to the UFC and get some of that smoke. Or any of these other girls, Kayla Harrison, she can go get some of that smoke. If it's a lot of girls out there that don't mind. Holly Holmes, I'm sure she'll do a rematch.
Oh. Now, as y'all can see, Booker T didn't mince words there. He said you can go back to MMA if you want to fight. The MMA world will be happy to take back Ronda Rousey, right? Right?
The way she treated people at the UFC, the stories I heard from people at the UFC were indicative of her character, right? What I said was, if you guys didn't hear it, is the people, when I was in the UFC in 2018, who would put the mic on you, the audio people, the camera people, the people plugging the cable in to make sure the lights are on it, the people the producers who help do stuff, every time Ronda Rousey's name came up. She was in the WWE at the time. I remember she had just done some big pay-per-view. I forget which one, SummerSlam or something. and somebody mentioned her, and it was like the guy putting the mic on my shirt was like, that F&B, blah, 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 blah. And it went around the room like, oh, God. Everybody had a horror story about Ronda Rousey being impossible to them. You know, like I'd mic her up. Just like we're all in her way. That we're not helping her hype a fight that she's getting paid millions of dollars for. I had a producer tell me a story about she came in and they were interviewing her, pre-fight, video. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or whatever. They used to do those a lot more frequently in the UFC. And she sat down and went, this is the worst part of my day. I hate dealing with you people. That's what she said to the guy. And everybody had a story like that. I don't have any. I met Ronda Rousey one time when I was a guest host of MMA Uncensored Live. She was all right. But I was hosting a show she was on. She's going to be nice to me. That's what I'm talking about. I used to be a valet at a hotel when I was in college, right? When I was at UCLA. I would go to school during the day. I would park cars at night. I can tell you what celebrities from the late 90s, and it was a big, famous Beverly Hills hotel, were horrible people. And which ones were great. Because how you treat a valet who you meet for 5 minutes who has to take your BS, or a waiter or a waitress who has to deal with you and they got to stand there and smile while you crap all over them, that is indicative of who you are. Right? Everybody that had to deal with her in production couldn't stand her. She could be nice to Dana White, I'm sure. I'm sure she'd be nice to Joe Rogan. I'm sure she'd be nice to all the people who had some authority, matchmakers. The people that make a shoot work, the people in the black shirts that go around doing their job, she was horrible to them. When I said that on SiriusXM, I'm not going to name names, I got messages from people in her orbit who went, Jimmy, you nailed it. I can't say this publicly. I'm glad you did. I got some messages going, Jimmy, you said what I'd love to say, but I can't. That's how she is. That's how she is as a person. So what bothers me, she did an interview with Dana Jacobson, who's a great friend of mine. I love Dana to death, for her book tour, and it's freaking wah. It is grievance after grievance after grievance. You made millions of dollars and became an icon. Please, spare me. And that's what always gets me, because I did work menial jobs, I park cars, I change tires at Costco, scooped ice cream. I've had to work for a living. So I understand what it's like when someone just craps on you for no reason. So, and Ronda Rousey did that all the time. I heard about her going off on the people cleaning the mats on The Ultimate Fighter. Like the janitor who's taking out the trash and you're belittling him, or like, I've heard these stories, man.
Yeah, that's Jimmy Smith a little while back going off on Ronda Rousey about, what she did in MMA, basically behind the scenes, and how hard she is to deal with. So basically everything that Booker T is outlining is everything that's been outlined about Ronda Rousey within MMA. Ronda's run in the UFC is similar to Mike Tyson's path in boxing. She was unstoppable. And then, women's MMA caught up to her, in which she then decided that, she had had enough. She packed it up, went home. Now, Booker T says she can go back to MMA. And I'm telling y'all right now, what I've seen within the last maybe 2 months is Ronda Rousey basically training harder than ever. She's, on the mitts. She's back to doing judo. She's over here, looks like she's doing jiu-jitsu. She's back in the MMA realm, right? And she looks like she might be gearing up to make her comeback in the UFC. Now, she stepped away basically 8 years ago. What would Ronda Rousey 8 years later, she says she's, more fired up than ever. She's got the love for MMA again. 8 years later, what would it look like? Like what? I'm just going to say this right now. This is a bad idea, especially if you're going to try to make a comeback within the UFC. She was in the midst of her prime, and women's MMA caught up to her, and she packed it up and went home in the midst of her prime. She didn't try to get better and, return while she was still in her early 30s. She's now in her late 30s, and she's trying to attempt a comeback 8 years later, 8 years without a fight. It's a bad idea. Ronda is well past her prime. It's over, and she should hang it up. Even if she's got her love for MMA back, she's got that itch. Every fighter, when they retire, says at some point they get that itch, they get that fire back and all of this stuff. But the whole point of it is to, understand that you're retired and that you're not willing to, basically come back and embarrass yourself and be a shell of yourself and remind yourself that your time is over. Ronda's a Hall of Fame, MMA fighter. She's one of the greatest women's fighters of all time. Her era is over. She needs to realize that it's a bad idea, and she needs to work on being better to people. When you hear Jimmy Smith detail what she did behind the scenes within the MMA, world, within the UFC, how she treated, people backstage and all these things. And then you hear the same things from Booker T saying that she's doing the same things to the people within the WWE behind the scenes. Like, maybe she should work on that instead of, trying to work on, her MMA and attempt to come back. Just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, like, subscribe, share. I appreciate it. Peace.
You're sitting on the couch, you're watching TV, you keep procrastinating over and over. No, do it right now. Been all day on the phone anyhow. Why are you making it complicated? It's easy.